for some years now. Their budget is $166,000. Theirs is a little bit different than ours. So what's happening there is they budget, and then they have an agreement with, of course, with ABC, and they're being billed per instance per surgery and microchip. And so they've budgeted 166 for a while, but from what I gathered, it's just a flat rate that has been sufficient to cover the amount that's billed to them monthly. So they have not adjusted that for a while, but it's, again, just based on how many instances they are actually billing for.
So that's a little different than our arrangement where we're just giving them flat money to do whatever they
To cover the areas outside outside the incorporated cities. Yes, sir. So with the 125,000, it's just down at the bottom of perfect. That section there. She says that, to reach the areas in need, this would cover over 1,500 animals. They would receive spay, neuter, and microchip. And that the 19,000, the past funding level, is exhausted within 3 months usually. Economic Development Department. The Sports Commission asked for an increase in funding of $30,000, so this would increase to $130,000 from our previous $100,000. You had asked about the city of Waco and what they had funded and what they planned on funding. They have always contributed $75,000, and of course their budget is not adopted yet either, but the plan is that they would continue the $75,000 level of funding into next year. Stay on our timeline. Those letters need to go out from the judge's office today. So I just wanted to just come back here and just make sure, that we all knew what those ending numbers look like. Everyone has received a COLA on this list. So the right side is just what our fiscal year 22 elected official salaries look like. Some of the judges are, the COLA doesn't apply to them because those numbers are set a different way. But the ones that are highlighted in yellow, those were the amounts that Anna spoke on and recommended moving those up to a certain level. And then, of course, the COLA is added on top of that. So I just wanted to just make sure that we were all still, agreeable to those amounts, just because those letters do need to go out today. And we hadn't really
The
looked at.
adjustments came in the highlighted yellow,
Yes, sir.
and that was due to the fact that they were out of our criterion.
Yes. Yes. So you brought those up.
Between now and the final adoption, which is August the 24th, we will come back and talk about the disposition of any of the funds that are over and above the policy of our unassigned fund balance policy of 33%, and how we, if we choose to apply any of those towards things. And one of the, one item was on our retirement debt. It looks like there's about a little over $90,000. For every $1 million we pay down on that debt, there's a little over 90,000 and some change.
Correct. So
Savings that goes up over time if salaries are adjusted up.
That's correct. So yeah, those paying in $1 million or whatever the amount may be is going to affect of course, you're going to be out that cash for the year to pay down that debt, but then it's going to affect your retirement rate also.
Right.
So.
And the cash position that we're in because of the rate environment.
So we have received, of course, the certified values and then the new calculations of the tax rate. We'll share our screen here. This updated spreadsheet is, of course, on the budget workshop drive today, unfortunately. But that one is just one that's there. We've had questions, and we can always adjust as more information comes in.
Good.
The other ones that we'll need to come back to in this department are the MHMR contracts. And of course, those will come in for your review in this next month. The animal birth control clinic. So they increased their ask this year to that $125,000. You had questions about what the city was contributing to ABC. And so what we have found out, they they currently, and have for some years now,
No, everything's locked now.
On settlement discussion, in open session, or does it need?
Executive session.
Okay.
We'll start an executive session. It's on, the
Yep.
resolution itself is on the open agenda, I believe.
Okay.
If we could do an executive session, maybe we can get through it in 15 or 20 minutes.
Okay.
You'll limit each lawyer to 5 minutes, that's
I
15.
thought the whole deal was gonna be 15, 20 minutes, the whole afternoon. Are we talking about
This is Friday afternoon.
We're talking longer here?
The man's got a schedule right there. We
Yeah,
just
if we-
give them to 3 minutes each, just like we do, and then you just hold up a number. We'll either up or down.
I think if we tell them it's a flat fee, then if, ands, and buts go away.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
Matter of seconds.
yeah, it could go either way, boys. Okay, we'll wait just a minute, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, and then, Judge, we also have Randy McGraw on that healthcare thing
Right.
in executive session, so maybe you can do those back to back and. Lord willing, we don't run out of time.
Well, that'll work about right. Our other agenda item, one of the consultants is gonna be late anyway, so we'll have that time. Hi, Commissioner. How you doing?
Recording in progress.
Commissioner, do you know these gentlemen?
Yes,
Steve Harrison, and you might have met Mr. Bristow before. Okay,
Time or two.
and this is Mr. Craig Cherry.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. All right, let's call court to order. It's 1:03 PM on February the 18th. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Tuesday, February 15th, 2022 at 11:58 a.m.
Okay, thank you. Going to item C under public comments. I don't think we had anybody call in for public comments. And then going to items D is grants and grant proposals, and we will hold that till later in the meeting. This time, I'd like to go into executive session under 551.072 of the Government Code regarding pending legal matters and advice from attorneys. I would like for Dustin Chapman to stay in the meeting. And let's see, was there anybody else? And then our guests that are our attorneys that are speaking today, Mr. Steve Harrison, Mr. Craig Cherry, and Herb Bristow.
And Judge, I think
Recording
you said
stopped.
072, but it's 071.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it is. I see that now. Section 551.071. Okey-doke. We'll wait just a minute to shut the recordings down.
Recording in progress.
Okay, go back into regular session. It is 2:51. Dustin, read the action item, please.
Yes, sir. So we'll go to item E1 on the agenda. It's discussion and or action on statewide opioid settlement agreements.
Okay, thank you. In executive session, we had listened to counsel regarding this with some detail. And at this time, there's an order that was provided to the court authorizing approval of proposed Texas statewide opioid settlement agreements. And if approved, this will be recorded, and it gives the authority to the county judge to sign this agreement. Is there any questions anyone would have about the agreement? All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass. All right, Dustin, what else?
All right, Judge, we have 5 action items on under ARPA. Also have Tom Ray, who is, I think, just stepped away, but he's available. I know do we need to be done by 3, or are we going to continue,
Well,
Judge?
See what we can do.
So what is everybody's schedule?
I have till 4.
Okay,
A little bit before 4.
so Commissioner Perry, if it's all right with you, we'll continue to work on it, and then, is that all right? You got any general thoughts about going into the ARPA discussions again?
Just this one thought, and this is after conversations with others. My shift is gonna, or my focus is gonna shift to some of these requests. We gotta keep in mind, I think the intent of the ARPA funds was to make them whole, but not to allow them to bring in additional staff, go buy new buildings and things of that nature. So that's just a focus that I'm gonna have through.
And make them whole regarding reimbursement for lost
Reimbursement for
revenue.
lost revenue.
Okay. All right.
Could I
Absolutely.
piggyback
You
on?
bet. Yes.
Okay, and my thought, and this either put us more on point or get us totally off, is that these entities who lie entirely within other incorporated, unincorporated areas, whatever, that they share some of this effort to make them whole. And what I would support would be our half of that request. And that they go, and if there's money left at the end and they want to come back to us, or we can help them more if they don't get that help from other entities, then so be it. But at this point, our share should be half of that.
So they go to the effort to ask, and then we'll see what the answer is.
See what happens, but that we go ahead and approve half of the request, our half of the request.
Okay, and so on our spreadsheet, we can footnote that as subject tos. In other words, subject to going to this community or whatever and asking for
Yeah.
some
I
kind of
don't mind us paying our share of it.
participation.
And subject to, if they don't get it and come back to us, and we've got money left, then we can always look at it. I mean, that's my thought. That's my thought.
I concur.
Now, the Friends for Life,
That's already paid, it's done, and it was for lost revenue,
all of their lost revenue?
all of it. It all qualified.
If I remember, they were gonna ask the city for something else, some other amount for.
Now, they were asking the city for some other program,
Some other
about
program, yeah.
$150,000.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we had this conversation. See you. Drive careful. Okay, where were we?
Where's the,
Well, I'll jump in. I'm trying to, first, I appreciate the spreadsheets that we were sent, and I'm trying to look at it without having too much of a gray area. And so for me, I'm kind of looking at those requests that focus on health, and those that focus on economics, helping businesses maybe that did lose revenue because they had to shut down. But focusing on health, I'm really looking at our water projects. And the reason, I think we need to do a priority list of exactly what is our strategy gonna be, because we can't help everyone. We definitely can't help everyone at the level that they're requesting. So I think a strategy on how we're gonna look at the requests, for me, is gonna be helpful. When I think about those communities that are asking for assistance with their water infrastructure, the reason that kind of sticks out to me is that that's a permanent, any assistance we give is going to be a permanent assistance to them. I'm a little shy on giving to nonprofits that are going to, the funds may shift or shape even who has it, or the direction that organization can go in. So that kind of puts me kind of on softer ground, a softer foundation. But I see helping, like with, especially the arsenic issue, helping with their water taps and their generators, because people are gonna drink water forever. So anything we can do to for those water projects, I think it just makes the funding, this one-time, really great method of funding that we've been able to get, I think it will let us see it into perpetuity. I'm a little shy, I'm a little afraid to give to these especially private nonprofits. I can see the public nonprofits, but these private nonprofits, and then we don't really have a say on what happens after we, sign the agreement and give them the funds.
I agree with that completely, Commissioner. And I think that on the water request, I think we need to work real hard to get as many of these requests filled as possible. And for the generator mandate, to me, is just the same as the arsenic mandate. It's the governor or the federal government, it's the state or the federal government saying to these water entities that they have to do this by this certain time, or we're gonna shut you down. But you still got to get the water to people, and that water is a direct indirect relation to people's health. If you don't have clean water,
Absolutely.
Right.
and if you have water that's tainted with lead, or which we see mostly in the news, and then the arsenic situation in eastern McLean County, people aren't going to be healthy. But as we know, the arsenic's been around for forever and ever.
But it's mandated
But
by
it's a
EPA to
mandate.
fix it.
It's a
Yeah.
mandate, and so let's if it's a mandate that we can't do anything about now, let's try to help them out as much as we can.
Okay.
And I agree with you, Commissioner, about these nonprofits where we don't have a direct control of what exactly the money's going to be done for in the and what's going to be done with the buildings in the future and things like that. So.
And we may find projects that, that BKD or LAN sign off on, says these do qualify, but they may not be high priority for us. So that's where it gets down into the spreadsheet when we get down into these areas down here. And so they could qualify, but we might run out of money before we get to them. And other things, which goes up into the green category, that qualify and are ready to take some action on. Is there any questions anybody
Yeah.
have on the?
Well, I don't have a question. I'm certainly on board for helping with the arsenic situation. I'm not quite as comfortable with the generators. I feel like that needs to be something that's, those people, those organizations, those groups have some ability to fund to get those, in my mind, but certainly, I think one of the things that worries me about the arsenic part, and we want to help them as much as we can, is what happens if they need $5 million and we give them $1 million, and they still can't fund the other 4, that million's just gonna come back. I mean, what happened, you know what I'm saying? If we don't fund all that they're asking for, which I don't think is possible.
The Water Development Board is already working with them, and so there's a certain commitment, like Axtell and Elko Lake, they've got a $7 million Water Development Board loan, but the fact of it is, the people at the meter are gonna have to pay that.
Well, if we can mitigate that somewhat
Yeah.
by paying some of it.
Some of it.
That's great.
Yeah.
But what worries me about somebody who hasn't started any of that, and they're asking for the full 5 to make them whole to be able to do it, and we offer $2 million.
Yeah.
And they don't have the other 3 to do it.
Well, I think that's where we come in and say, you know, where are you with this project? Are you ready to?
That would be good to know.
Are you ready to construct it? Are you ready, you know, are
Right.
you ready
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
get
well,
financing for it?
that would be good to know.
Is our seed money
And that's
gonna
what.
help your financing?
Right, and that's what LAN is doing right now. Wiley is contacting those engineers and finding out where they all are. We've got the name of every engineer for every water company.
Good.
And the
Right.
other day, you know,
Yeah, right.
10 of them were in here.
Well, and I'm on board 100% with that. I really am. I just worry that at the end, they say, well, that wasn't enough, so we're gonna have to give it all back to you, and then we start over again.
And Mike will put in the sub-recipient agreement, all those things that points they have to check off for, we can issue them a check.
But,
Well, and we can just not issue them anything if they haven't secured other funding. I
if they
mean,
haven't
just
what,
put them
Mike?
there.
What it-
Enough funding to complete the project.
Other funding.
If they haven't secured funding to complete the project, we need to make it where our funding would be the last amount they needed.
Icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Mike,
And
in
that's kind of like in Riesel, they have a Water Development Board loan, but we're finding out that amount of money may not be enough because of how far we're going to have to go to get alluvium water. So that's kind of an example.
Yeah. Well, Mike, and these beneficiaries are sub-recipient contracts, whichever they are. We can't require them, like we were talking about the nonprofits. We can't require them to prove up how that money's being spent. And do we have
We
any
usually
recourse?
try to
and
do
we
that beforehand.
Sir?
We usually try to do that beforehand and make them prove what they're going to be using
Yeah,
it
it's just
for.
like a home construction.
So we
But-
do have some control then over.
Right, and we have in there that they're supposed to give us a report. Dustin, I left that in there, didn't I?
Do we have a clawback if they don't use it to what they say, if we?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right, Dustin, you want to start going down the line here?
Yes, sir. So under D1A under D1A discussion on ARPA funding request, the first one on the list is D1A1 Trinity Sports Organization. And just so the court's aware, Maria Berry is on the line in case there are any additional questions for Trinity Sports. Just as a reminder, that requested, the original request was for $50,000 for repairs to the old boys club facility. And it is, they have amended that request to $185,000, and there was about $71,000, I believe, in repairs, and then the rest would go to programming and other costs.
My problem with this is it looks like we're paying for a startup. We're, you know, we're not helping somebody recover loss and get back on their feet. If we're paying for all the crew, all the people that are going to work there and all that stuff, that's almost like a startup organization.
It lists some justifications here at the bottom. One of them is 3.2, education assistance aid to high poverty districts if the location of the facility and programs provided meet standards. And then 3.5 and 2.1, according to BKD justification.
I have a question.
Yes.
I just need a little help because I'm new.
You can't say that anymore. And you didn't come here now.
Are we gonna start saying yes to requests before we create our priority list?
No, I mean, well,
'Cause,
I
already have.
I think.
well,
we-
yeah.
We
gotta have some
have,
water.
We already have.
but
Yeah.
because of, you know, kind of some new thoughts on how we're going forward, if they qualify, they can go on the list. But the priority then is set at that point to put them wherever in this list we want to. And so if someone qualifies, yet they're low priority, we may be out of money before we get to them. But if there's money that we find out that can't be used in a certain area,
Like we have
it's
already.
available and there's a project ready to go, then, you know, then those options could be considered.
And I guess I'm asking that question because I have some water projects that we haven't, you know, like the quality survey for Axel. And I thought we were gonna get to those requests and then look at the nonprofits. I'm not sure
No,
how
that's not the way that
Okay.
I understood we were gonna do it.
okay.
I think we just take them one at a time and if we can say yes, maybe, or no.
Okay, we put them on the list.
We put them on the list.
Oh, okay, I thought we
Then-
were approving funding.
Well, that's what this says, decision of the Commissioners Court.
Well, but when you make that decision. So we're not asking for the decision today on these necessarily unless y'all bring it up that you want to make a decision on it.
Well,
I'd like to make a list. I need a list and then we
I
put,
thought that's what this was.
that is a list. But I would like to make a list in priority the strategy that we're saying.
Okay? And I think that's what this list is.
Okay,
Green, blue,
Green's high priority, blue's next range, whatever that other color is next, and then white is we might not have got to them yet, or there could be, yes, they qualify, but they're low priority.
so the water projects are above these? Because none of the water projects are on here.
water projects aren't even on it.
There are no in here.
Okay, this is the nonprofit, but the water, okay, the spreadsheet,
Over here.
And I guess my
Water.
concern comes, because we said when we run out of money, we just run out of money. And I don't wanna run out of money and we haven't funded those priority projects. And we're talking about the arsenic projects and those water projects.
right, so
we
if
have
you look
them?
down at the bottom down
Okay.
here, on the spreadsheet, is broken out into categories.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that there's, almost, $25 million in projects, eligible,
Okay.
County water projects. Right now, we've got $5 million, if you'll see in that bottom deal. But
So
that
I see
can change.
two $5 million amounts for, what is the difference between water infrastructure and eligible county water projects?
So Commissioner, the way we had set this up, it was really just trying to look at two different buckets where we had non-county projects, meaning non-county specific, And then also just county, our own projects, the HVAC upgrades through our facilities. And then Commissioner Perry or someone had brought up last time, like low water crossings, other things that could be ARPA eligible. And I know with the infrastructure bill that, those can be discussed there as well. So we had just tried to get some really broad buckets of non-county projects, which would be all the nonprofit asks, and also the water infrastructure ask that Tom's working on versus, and also having a county project bucket. And that's what we talked about last time. These numbers were just, they're not necessarily arbitrary, but we were just trying to put something down on paper to start the discussion.
Okay.
So in reality, we could, as to what Commissioner Miller's saying, we can split this 39.8 million that's left after we pull our 10 million lost revenue portion out. They could be split between those two projects, and we could continue working down our list of nonprofits and water projects, knowing, that we have county projects. And even if all these county projects are funded at this full level, there's still 9.8 million sitting there.
Dustin, not saying we would, but what is the total amount of requests for the water projects that have been submitted so far? Like if you
And
look,
Commissioner Tom can help. I think it was around 14 to 15 million is
Okay.
what I remember.
I added up 16
I
point,
had 16 or 17.
16,
oh, 16.8, was that it?
16, yes. I meant to bring that. I found my
Yeah.
tape, and it's in the 16s.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
And that's the known amounts, because there's some
Well, so that's
requests in
just
there
like
that are not
what,
known right
so this, Tom did this on, February the 1st, this, and that was from then, so.
Yeah.
The
There-
the highlighted numbers, it's like the Axtell, and then the city of Riesel and city of Arena.
And we put them in there at their
Sure.
request amount, but that doesn't mean, when we get down into the details of them, that
Right.
we'll approve that amount. So I'm figuring that, there's gonna be much less, offered to them than what they're requesting, some more than others.
And that gets back to the point I was making, Judge, that if we offer less than what they're requesting and they can't make themselves whole, then
Then
they're
they're,
really no better off than not getting any money.
yeah, if, that's right. And so they drop out, and so that money becomes available. for
Comes
the
back in the
next
pool.
budget. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But kind of what we
Well,
talked today.
And this is comment I'd make about prioritizing and making a list. If that was the way we were gonna do it, I wish we'd have done it from the start. I recognize there are a couple of worthy projects on here that we went ahead and paid up front because we felt like we need to do that to give them a jump start, but we've already paid money out without creating a list, and now we're gonna create a list after we paid money out.
Well, I don't think that any harm was done, because I think those would have been paid anyway, and this is all driven by a majority of the court. So
Yeah.
today, if the majority of the court said, well, I want to get down here and I want to pay this other one today, go ahead and authorize it, because BKD did it, then we could do that too.
Yep.
So what we're trying to do today is bring each one of these that are out there to see if there's any other questions. And then either put them on the list or not put them on the list, and then prioritize them.
Okay.
Well, one thing is, another area is fire protection.
It's on
And-
it, so do you have this, sheet? That's on here.
Yeah, D1A3 has volunteer fire departments.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Yeah, I understand. I just was mentioning that that's on the agenda today for the non-501c3s to be approved. So that is something that I think everybody can agree on that.
And just as a quick reminder, we approved the 501c3s up to 15,000 each, or the amount they had actually requested. If it was less than that amount, we approved that funding level. And so in your packet, we have contracts or have the beneficiary agreements for them. And then for the non-501c3s, we were still waiting for BKD's review, and BKD has said those are an eligible expense under 6.1, which is the way Mike had proposed. So we would need to approve that with that same up to 15,000 or the amount requested, and then also approve those agreements as well.
And there's 5 of those, is that correct?
Right.
Yes, sir. And then we have Downsville has submitted some of their info to us, but not the full. And that's one we might be bringing back in a future court session if we get the rest of the information.
Right. So, okay, the agenda item on the volunteer fire departments is
D1A3.
D1A.
And the only one that we would need to act on would be the non-501c3 because the others have already been approved.
We approved the funding, but not the actual agreements. And so I think just if the court wanted to move forward, we could move forward with approving both the 501c3 and non-501c3 agreements as presented.
Any questions on those?
No, none at all.
What's the pleasure of the court?
Well, I was trying to say I didn't see Mart on here.
Did they turn in anything? Did they?
I know they were working on it. Can,
That's the first I'd heard about it. But Reagan, you get anything?
not submitted anything.
We can, like,
But we thinking we can always
always have it. I
Okay.
mean, that's the
as long as
beauty
there's
about
still
this.
money there, we can
Yeah.
certainly.
So, if, when they get their.
But they have to take that step and file the information.
Yeah.
So
So,
let me just say one thing real quick, and I think
Okay.
this might make this easy for everybody. So at the end of the day, right now, we're still looking at $9.8 million that we don't have obligated for anything. Is that correct, Dustin?
And Commissioner, that number, it's actually more than that. It would be, so the numbers we plugged in on the spreadsheet in, like for the HVAC upgrades at the courthouse, that's just an estimate. And the
Sure.
HVAC at the downtown jail,
Uh-huh.
but yes, so it would be that 9.8 plus also the 4 million up in the non-county bucket. And that's assuming we dedicate 5 million to water infrastructure projects.
So there's still, so we could possibly do, so that would be almost $13 million that's
Yeah.
not allocated towards,
That's right.
towards anything.
and these are all static. Now, we can move
Yeah, right.
category to
Yeah,
category.
Right, so.
And so, like, if
So
the court pleases to approve these, the rest of these volunteer fire departments, and they move over here on this list as approved. Now, then you tell us, the court decides when you want to pay them, when you want to issue the checks. That's the next decision, and it doesn't need to be right now.
okay.
I mean, it can be, but it doesn't need to be, just like we chose to go ahead and pay Friends for Life and some of these others. We can do the same thing then.
Let me visit with the Mart Volunteer Fire Department. I know there was a person.
We're not gonna
issue-
exclude them.
Okay,
We're not gonna exclude them, and we won't Downsville either.
okay.
And so we can approve these and then bring those others on. If they meet the qualifications, then
Okay.
I'm sure the court would approve.
Okay.
Okay?
And I think it's important to point out that for the non-501c3s, those do have to be paid out of our lost revenue portion. That's that 6.1 I referenced earlier, where the 501c3s can come out of the other ARPA funds.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we, Judge, would it be appropriate to move for the question?
Yes, sir.
Move for the question.
All right. Do we have a motion and a second?
That you did, yes. You already had one.
I'll make a motion that we
Yeah, I don't think-
approve, again, the volunteer fire department
All right.
request.
All right. Have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Okay.
And then, Judge, we have under D1A4, it's the Tawakona Creek Water Improvement District. We visited with BKD earlier this week, and Mike's prepared an agreement. It would be an eligible expense, and just as a reminder, this is that baseline water quality study.
Not by
Originally,
Axel. The
yes.
one by Axel.
By Axel, yes. And just as a reminder, this was presented to court before, and the court had agreed to participate up to 50% of the remainder uncovered portion, and that amount was $20,700. And then with the ask to try to see if it would be eligible under ARPA, I have seen a communication from Dr. Lear where the county's ask appears to be around $30,000, but I reached out to him yesterday, and he's trying to confirm that. So just wanted to make the court aware of that.
Okay, so, a couple $1,000 difference, but if the court wants to move forward on this and say up to 30,000, we can get this one out of the way, and if it turns out it's 27, that's what we'll pay.
Okay.
If anybody's comfortable on that. And like Dustin said, it was one that we were gonna pay before ARPA even came around, so.
Right.
So what's the pleasure of the court?
I move that we approve the request from the Tawakoni Creek Water Improvement District.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion?
Up to $30,000?
Up to 30, but it'll end up being whatever it is, but up to 30. Have motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Okay, so Judge, that leaves us the Trinity Sports, MCC, and then also the Greater Waco Sports Commission.
All right, and go back again and what BKD said on Trinity Sports, it's in here, but,
Trinity Sports is eligible. The justification, it does fit under the aid to nonprofit organizations, and then it can also be under education assistance for either an aid to a high poverty district or just in general.
all right, and one of the questions that came to me is, had they gone to the city of Waco and asked for funding because their facility and operations is totally in the city of Waco?
Correct.
And Judge Maria, I believe, is still on. Maria, if you are, do you mind answering?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. We have gone to the city of Waco. Actually, after we left the meeting with you all, I wanted to do a follow-up with them again. The issue that Galen Price continues to tell me is that they have not quite decided how they will disseminate the funds. But what he said to me is that he would match whatever the county gave, because I let him know that that was one of the questions you guys posed. And so there is an application process that he said he will contact me later about, and I'm just waiting on them to give us information about the city. We have gone, we are using several different approaches to try to get everything done that we are trying to get done. And a side note that I just mentioned to Mike is that we are not a startup. We were able to move into a permanent location, and that location just needed to be up to ADA standards and also just a few cosmetic things. But as you know, because we're in an older building, some of those cosmetic things just get probably cost a little bit more than we anticipated, which is why we are seeking help from the city and the county.
Any questions? Great. All right.
How much of it, Justin, how much of the request is for actual building, corrections to the building and fixes? And how much of it is for people?
I believe.
Well, when we say people, what we have are programs, and so partial salaries for running the programs is in the $114,000, but for the building we are at $71,000.
Judge, get us off square one. They asked for 185. If it was split evenly between the county and the city, That would be 92,500, and my motion would be to support the county paying our portion of that 185, which would be $92,500.
Is there a second? Dies for lack of second.
I think it's a great proposal. My only unease comes when I look at the breakdown, because you did an excellent job. Like 10,000 is participant incentive, 22,000 is staff, 17,000 is staff, 18,000 is staff. When I look at materials and supplies, I think she's suffering from lost revenue. Probably she had to take, supplies and material money like Centacor did, and maybe perhaps pay for COVID-19 things. My support would come at supporting the programming, but I couldn't do staff and incentives into the future. One is, I saw travel at 9,000. And I may be looking at it wrong. Like I said, I'm looking at old material, but I did get what Dustin sent, which had programs at 114,000, and then when you add in the areas of capital, I guess it comes to the 185,000. I'm not
Right.
real sure. Is that right?
That's right.
So that's why I would, support consideration to them and putting them on the list.
Get what amount?
But I don't have an amount because, like I said, when I started out, my water projects, I just give them a little bit more priority than travel and incentive and things of that nature. I think this is important. And probably if I could get those water infrastructure projects off of my list and focus on the nonprofits, I think I could be more.
Well, would you be
finite.
comfortable at some level approving it and then having it down on the priority list where water's ahead of it?
Yes.
What was the actual construction or renovation was 71,000? The actual renovation of the building with the ADA, bringing it up to ADA? Is that correct, Dustin?
Yes, sir. That's the 71, then plus that 114 for programming gets to the 185.
Yeah. But the 71 was actually the building itself.
Yes, sir. That's the way I understand it.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna have to defer one, maybe two of the next items. It could always be deferred and taken back up.
Well, I'm just trying to give the court an opportunity to maybe come up with some kind of solution for it. And
Well, I mean, if the court would support the 71,000, I wouldn't mind moving forward over the motion with that, so.
71? And then would that be splitting it with the city of Waco?
I think the total was like 114, so 71 would be half of it.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, we got that's a motion, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second? I'll second that. Motion second, any discussion? And, you still got the opportunity on priority, so. Okay. We have a motion and second. Call for a vote.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Judge Felton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so, if City of Waco can help them with the rest of it, they'll get closer to where they want to be.
Is Mike saying that we can't do D1A2 today? Is that what he's saying?
That's right.
There's still some research done on that right now, so, they asked if we could, defer that.
Okay, move to defer D1A2.
I'll second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, pass. Okay, Dustin?
So Judge, that'll take us to D1A5. That's the Greater Waco Sports Commission. And Mike Francis and I had visited with Danny about this earlier this week. And Danny at BKD would like to see some more detail on the lost revenue piece. And I see in my inbox, I do have an email from Mike Vogelar. But if this is something, I think it'd be best if we deferred it as we, unless the court wants to talk about the a lower or whatever funding level might be, but we do need to go back over the numbers again with BKD.
And are they requesting this also from the city?
Yes, it's my understanding that they were,
Okay.
because that's how they exist, is because of the city and the county.
Yeah, and they generate money through those events and the banquets, but the seed money from City of Waco and McLennan County, which we match, I think, don't we match it, Judge? I think
Yes.
Yeah, supports them quite a bit, and so they're asking for, I think, from both entities, which in my mind, then our portion would be half of the request.
Right, that's the way I'm thinking too. And I'd make a motion, we defer this until BKD can analyze the new information.
Second.
All right, that motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass. Dustin?
All right, Judge, that's all the action items. Tom Ray is on. If y'all want to talk about water infrastructure more,
Yes.
I think he had an update that he'd like to share.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Yes, I have gone through, I did receive 3 more water projects. In fact, I received those earlier this week. They're small water supply corporations with, each one of them needs generators, and then some need storage, additional storage. And one of these 3 has problems with some of their distribution lines. They're losing an incredible amount of water, something like 51%. And apparently that is after they have made some corrections to those problems. And in the write-up I got earlier, they mentioned that it had been 81% loss, and it's now 50% loss. So major problem there, obviously. And that would also be a new category of project. Dustin, is there a way that I could share my screen and go through? You're showing kind of what I want to show, but if you'll allow me to share my screen, and I can go through these a little better.
Yes, sir. So Tom, you should have that ability now.
Okay, there we go. Huh. All I have to do is find the one I'm looking for. Well, that's interesting. Hold on, I apologize. Hold on just a half a second. All right, we're getting there. Anyway, does that come through? Do you see that?
Nope.
Dadgummit. All right. But I went through and added these 3 to the list that we looked at on February 1st and adjusted my allocation table to include these and include the new projects. Well, let me just talk through it. For some reason, it's not. I'm not proficient at Zoom. Teams is the one I use fairly regularly.
Well, look like you're gonna have to change.
I may have to do that, Judge, because I'm getting nowhere with this.
We can give you can you email it to Dustin and let him?
Wait a minute, let's see if that's it. Did that show up?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you're coming. There you are.
All right. See, I can get there eventually. Just bear with me.
Okay.
All right, so this is the list of water or wastewater infrastructure projects. Again, there's 3 new projects we'll see at the bottom of this table. I also added back in the.
Hey, Tom, all we're seeing is a cover page right now.
Right.
Okay, okay.
And okay, now can you see that?
There you're cooking.
There's the table that we talked about on February 1st. And then you get down to here, beginning with Mart, and Mark over here on the left-hand side as other recent projects added. We looked at Mart last time, I think, and had new information, new guidance that that type of structural integrity on a reservoir was eligible. So that was a positive. Then I have added East Crawford Water Supply Corporation. Things popping up on me. Okay, East Crawford Water Supply Corporation. That's the one that needs some line replacements due to high leakage. And that's the big ticket item for them, between 1.3 and 1.4 million. They also need a generator requirement of SB3. Bosque Basin Water Supply Corporation has a generator as well, but they also need new storage or a new pressure tank actually. And then the existing tank that they need to have it leveled with a cost around $42,000 for that. And okay, and then the final 2 were the community water system. I'll get back there. The community water system, they're a generator again and replacement lines as well at $230,000. Community water system, that's the one that has problems with pressure on their system. So there is a mandate, of course, that all the pressure in that system, that type of system has to be over 20 PSI. There are certain areas in their system apparently that will not make that if they don't improve the distribution lines going to that area. One caveat here is that I just got the questionnaire. I remember the more detailed information on the projects being requested. I just got that yesterday, so I haven't really, number one, I haven't had time to really examine that very carefully. And also I haven't had time to identify the questions I want to ask the person that submitted these. So there's a couple of things that I still need to do on these 3 new ones. I was unsure about the Tawakoni proposal, the water sampling, excuse me, the water sampling. And I'm glad to hear that you took that up in a different group. It's kind of a gray area, I thought, as far as whether it was infrastructure or not. But I've added it to this list, and when we talk about how one way I suggested that you could prioritize, we'll take it out.
Tom, are all these in McClellan County, these water supplies? Didn't we talk
I
about?
need to check on that, Commissioner. That's one of those things I haven't had the time to do that. Getting these yesterday afternoon. she didn't have time. She responded very quickly to filling out the questionnaire and providing the information, but there's a few of those types of questions I still need to ask, but I'll get the answers for those early next week and fill this thing in. I looked at, I think I told the court that I would look into a method of looking at the projects as far as priority and need. And I have one approach that I wanted to show you. And it's based on the number of requests that were made by category of project. Okay, excluding the arsenic projects. I looked at the different categories, and I think we looked at this on February the 1st. I looked at the different categories. There's arsenic, and then we have generators, wastewater, all the ones we talked about last time. So this in blue is the February 1st distribution that is based on the number of requests by category, okay? All I did, it looks much more complicated than it is. It's a simple, take the number of requests for the category, like for generators, there were 5 separate requests for generators. There was only 1 request for a wastewater connection and so on. So if you take the amount and just generally this number can change. This is if the county were to have available 5 million for infrastructure projects, water, wastewater related infrastructure projects. And from last time, there was a general consensus, let's say, to use 2.2 million of that to apply to the arsenic area. So that leaves 2.8 million to be distributed to these 4, 5, 6 different types of projects. And when I distribute those, based on the number of requests by category, then this is the percentage I come up with. So what that says is that 38% of the requests were for generators or had generators in them. The ones that are at 8% would represent 1 request out of the total of 13 that we had. So if I take those percentages as an indicator of countywide interest in these project types, then take that percentage and apply it to the amount available after you take and dedicate the 2.2 million to arsenic. Then you have 2.8 million to distribute. 38% of that, based on the number of requests, would go to generators, okay? And then for wastewater, there is only 1 request, and you would have 1.5. You would have 215,000, I'm sorry, in this column. That would leave another 1.5 million and so on. If you had 2 requests represent 15%, 15% times the available 2.8 million would provide $430,000. These all add up to 5 million. So what I'm trying to do is, this is one method for the court to consider, is the number of requests can be considered an indicator of the interest of utilities in McLennan County outside of Waco that for projects. And there are these different types of projects. There's these number of requests. So that's an indicator, can be considered an indicator of the interest in those projects on a countywide basis. All right, did that make any sense at all? Is that?
Yeah, so the 2.2 million that's up in the middle column there.
Right, right there?
yeah, so now how did you come up with the 2.8? I mean, 2.2, excuse me.
The 2.2. Let me get this thing where maybe you can see it a little better.
Okay, I see arsenic request at 2.2 down in the next spreadsheet.
Now, Judge, that 2.2 is what I took from the last meeting, February 1st meeting, that I think there was maybe even a motion, Dustin, I'm not sure that we used 2.2 million. I mean, at that meeting, I think we recognized that the total amount of ARP funds available for infrastructure projects was still not finally determined, but was estimated to be 5 million. I think at the last meeting, 2.2 million was thought to reflect the interest of the court in arsenic projects. So if you take the estimated amount for infrastructure, subtract the 2.2 million for arsenic, then that's where I came up with the 2.8 million remaining for allocation, okay?
Okay,
Taking the 2.8 million and looking at generators, which was the other project type most requested. 38% of those submitting requests wanted generators. That's in response to a mandate, a government mandate for SB3. So 38% of the remaining available funds is the 1.73 million, okay? Likewise, when you looked at the one request for a wastewater connection, that one request represents only 8% of the interest of the requesting group. And that 8% times, oh, I'm sorry, 8% times the 5 million is 1.5, I'm sorry, is 215,000. And that leaves 1.5 million, okay? Follow what I'm doing. And then water well or water connections, there were two of those, 15% times the remaining amount, 430,000 was available. And I went through and did that for all of the project types, okay? So not by entity, by project type. So then is everybody scratching their head or is okay, let me go on then. Today, I have added the three requests that I talked about. And some of those, here's a water line replacement, and there were two of those. There was one previous and, well, there was those are two of the new groups that were added this week, had water line connections. So our number of requests went from 13, adding all those up, to 20. And then here is the distribution of interest in those projects, again, based on the number of requests for that project type. And then I go through taking the amount available after the arsenic funds are distributed, dedicated. You have the 2.8 million again, and then 40% of 2.8 million times gives you 1.12 million to be distributed generators. You can go down through the list and it gives you the amount of dollars, ARPA dollars, that you could dedicate to those types of projects. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Question?
Judge, can we talk about just the total for a minute? We have water infrastructure and on the other side, And we're gonna be able to take care of bridges with the infrastructure money. Would it make sense to take that 5 million back over to water?
Well, that's what I was thinking, that looking at these numbers and a discussion that happened before, earlier today in court, that there's more interest in looking at these water infrastructure deals than maybe we indicated before. And so I think we are, if we have an opportunity to find more money, that we'll need to put it in this. Otherwise, it's not gonna be enough to make a significant difference in the need that's out there.
I agree completely.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. And I want to add something too, because Will had alluded to this earlier. I certainly wasn't opposed to the generators, but I was thinking about that 5 million and how far it would go on arsenic.
Yeah.
And that was the reason that was less on my priority
I was the
list.
same way.
But if we're gonna, throw more money into it, then certainly I think the generators are very important to those people.
Yeah.
Now, the explanation that I got on the questionnaire that I sent out was that the generators were unexpected requirement, coming from the state, from SB 3.
Right.
So that, in some of these smaller systems, the three that I mentioned that came in this week, she did a very good job of, I told her the commissioners were interested in rate impacts, were you holding off increasing rates and that kind of thing. She answered that question as well as answered the question of what would be the impact of buying new generators and what would be the impact of replacement lines and correcting leakage and pressure and those kind of things. So there's a lot of information that she provided, I think, that can help support that. But certainly, if the court feels like the generators, there's 1.2 million in this case. And by the way, I recognize this is an old old spreadsheet, wasn't quality checked, and this does add up to 5 million. I left, and there are actually 21 requests, and that 21st request was really the
140,000.
yeah, that's the 40,000 that take it up to 5 million.
140 would.
140.
Yeah.
So, Tom, there's been a lot of talk, these are kind of like whole general numbers. How much does one of these generators cost?
It varies, Dustin, quite a bit, actually. And it depends on what you're buying. If you just buy the generator, then that's a cost, but then there's considerable amount of site work that has to be done.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are kick-in, aren't they? In other words, those automatically kick in when power goes off, don't they?
They're quick couplers. Yes, essentially that's how they work. Okay, they may allow quick couplers as well.
Tom, is it also possible that depending on the WSC or whatever, that
Yes.
some people could have multiple wells that need them versus one smaller one that may only have one or two? Am I thinking
Yes.
that correctly?
You certainly are. I mean, an example would be out of your area, Lorena, talking with them, Kevin over there, they need 3 or 4.
Is that right? Okay.
And they're significantly more costly than these these are smaller systems for the most part.
I
So
think
they're-
at one time we'd also talked about number of water meters as a way of distributing some of the money. I'm looking at it, not sure that's going to be possible, but have you looked at number of meters on some of these places? These
I'm
WSC?
still trying to collect that information.
Okay.
Yes, we will have that as a factor as well. Then we'll put another column over here to kind of show the distribution of the
In McLennan County.
in McLennan County of those funding amounts. Does my spreadsheet show up? Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Oh, you can't see it now, right?
Oh, we can see it. There's something up there.
Oh,
That's we got total ARPA infrastructure assumed.
yes, it says 5 million up here and then 5 million when I add them up.
It's still showing 48.6 down at the bottom.
Okay, well, let me, I apologize for this. But,
But that's pretty close. We're talking about government work.
yeah, okay, let me, let's work with the 48. It does add up. There's a project missing out of the list here. There's another row that has to go on here, and it does add up to 5 million. And the nice thing about this spreadsheet is that if the court were to decide to put more money into arsenic, then all these numbers recalculate.
Yeah.
Right.
Thing here, if you decide that you're not paying for anybody or participating in anyone's new water well, then all these numbers recalculate. I have in here the water supply study, and I take that out and it all recalculates. So this one's a very clean example using that allocation method of request being an indicator of interest or benefit, or however you want to look at it, for those types of projects.
Okay.
Now,
and-
I need to talk to you, maybe
Okay.
Monday or something.
Yeah, okay. All right, who had a question? I had one, but I was just gonna make a statement that this is a good example about, we get the amount of money that looks like it's doing some good. Then we move it over here to this spreadsheet. And then when we get down to it, we say, we may be a little short money, do we want to cut out something? So we go over here and make it balance out. And then,
Right.
and we keep working it till we feel comfortable that we want to pay it, and that might be a while from now, but that's when we do
Right.
it.
Yeah, you either remove something at the same amount, or you
Yeah.
add more money in to
Yeah,
the total,
it balances out.
balance it out.
it's all going to balance out and add up to however much is available, or however much the court wants to put into
Yeah,
Right.
water infrastructure projects.
That's very good, Tom. You've done a great job.
yeah.
This is, I'll go through this pretty quickly, but it looks to me the next steps need to be, I need to identify those meters. That'll be a column on that spreadsheet. So the court will be able to judge in making considerations on priority and funding. They'll be able to see how many meters there are and what the cost of that or the benefit of that is per meter. And then I've got to review, like I said earlier, these 3 new requests in a little more detail. Call the person that sent in the request and get a few questions answered. And then I guess, the other question, I mean, this was Commissioner Smith's question, or maybe the judge, but last time the question was, if you don't get all the money that you requested, are you going to continue with the project?
Can you
Are you going to be
complete
able, importantly, if these 2 bulleted questions go together, if you don't get the money you requested, can you affirm that you'll finish that project within the ARPA timeframe?
Right.
Right.
If these that have requested 5 million for connections or whatever, if they get 200,000 instead of 5 million, are they still going to be able to finish the project
Very
within the
valid
5?
question. Very valid question.
Yeah,
Yep. So I'll get that answer. And then in terms of next steps in completing the prioritization and giving the court a sense of confidence in allocating funds, Um, Can't see my,
Yeah, we see them, all the different, examples of what they need to
yeah.
I wanted to-
use number and dollar.
Yeah. Oh, before he left that
Wait,
slide.
Commissioner had a question. Can you put it back up, Tom?
Yes, sir. Is it up now?
Yeah.
On that prioritization and allocation, another thing I would think of is that there may be a project that is asking for $5 million, but what is their impact to the county as far as if that project is not able to go forward?
Right.
You know, if we're taking money and dispersing it out amongst various projects, do we do that at the risk of not allowing a really valuable project that needs to go forward?
That's
I think that needs to be considered. And when we're talking about meters and because you're talking about warm bodies, there are more populous parts of the county than others. And the fact that more people are in a place does not make that project more important. So I would like to see the number of meters, but I would not like for it to be a deal breaker. Because I think it goes back to my first point, and that is how important to an area is that project, and how valuable would it be? What is the risk of that project not moving forward? I think you have to balance the two.
Yep.
That's a good point, Commissioner, and I will try. I think this can be done. If I can't do it, I'll find somebody in this company that's smarter than me and help me out. But I think we can come up with another column that shows the number of meters per area. That would indicate, or I think give us a handle on rural. You'd have to combine it with area, but then you have the test of, may not be that many meters, but there's a large area here that needs help. So you're helping a larger area.
Okay.
Let me try to tackle that one and bring that back to you as well. I'll add that as a column. Will that work?
Yes, sir.
And you can see the consider and decide on the approach. You can see the different ways that could be considered. I think we may need to combine the completion. We got to make sure that these projects that are partially funded are still going to be completed within the timeframe of ARPA.
Major question. Yep.
Yes, it is. And if they're not, is there a component of that project that they could confidently do and get done and pledge to get done within that time frame, within the required time frame?
Yeah, to me, it'd be a crime to get down to the deadline and find out somebody's not gonna do it, and the money come back and it'd be too late to allocate to somebody else who also wanted or needed it, so.
Or Commissioner, it could be swept back to the treasury, to the,
Bigger crime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then look at that last bullet there on allocation. Certainly, we defer to what the court says in terms of how they want to allocate their funds. If they see projects that, they may not have as many meters and that kind of thing, but it's a project that if it has these funds, it's going to highly benefit McLennan County. So anyway, that is always on the table, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's what I wanted to present. I'm available anytime. Give me a call if there's questions or, I went through this pretty quickly, so.
Yeah, I think one of the next steps is to, and Wiley thought he could figure this out, but to find out where each one of the water systems are with their request for the Water Development Board for lending, or how they're gonna solve these problems outside of us being a part of it. And so that way we can work, if there's applications made, Water Development Board says they're gonna do something, then they're gonna have the standard, or the criteria for them doing it. And so they'll have to meet those guidelines. It'll be a good, for us knowing that, it gives us a good guideline that they can do the project. And so, getting all the engineers, I think there was only one water system that hadn't made application or hadn't finished their application for a Water Development Board funding.
For arsenic?
Well, for any kind
Anything.
of extension of water lines, whether they're arsenic or not. And then, so we'll try to find out what they're doing.
That's important, yes.
Would it be legal for, let's say, they got the funding from the Water Development Board, I assume that's a low-interest payback over a period of time,
It is, generally.
and we gave them funding, could they then pay that down toward that loan?
No.
I thought what it would do is lower their request.
It would lower the request, but
And
not.
that way, it would cheapen up the cost at the meter to the consumer.
Okay.
In other words, instead of a $7 million loan and we gave them $1 million, it'd be a $6 million.
$6 million.
Therefore, cutting the cost back because they have to pay the debt service out of the meter revenues.
Right, okay, all right, thank you.
All right.
One thing, Judge, if you don't mind going back to Trinity Sports, we've had, and this is my oversight, that we've been doing pretty much all of these, and they've pretty much all been people we've dealt with and stuff, or big outfits. We've been doing them on getting the money 30 days after receiving an invoice, whatever. We're supposed to determine how we pay out and have it secure. And I was wondering if we might not be in a situation where on making those repairs that we might not be on a reimbursement basis instead of the lump sum in 30 days.
Well, the Trinity Sports has got a couple of hurdles right now. One, they got to get money from the city of Waco. And then two, they got to hope they rank high enough on our priority list to be available for funding.
Well, what I understood you to do today is approve them for
$71,000 we granted today.
Okay.
That's correct.
That's what I was trying, I'm not doing a very good job of explaining how I think we ought to be doing this, and I'm ready to, change or whatever, but we select them, if they meet the criteria and all that, and they qualify, then we can say, this is the amount we would do if they get funding. And so it goes on the priority list, and if there's money left, and we move down that priority list, they get paid. If we never get down there, then they don't get paid.
Because there'll be some projects that won't make the list, right?
They can make the list, but they might not be high enough priority.
Well,
Okay.
that's not how
Dustin, what was the motion on all of them today?
It was discussed, both ways. The documents that are in the packet were actual agreements with the clause in there to be paid 30 days after invoiced.
That's the way I understood my motion on Trinity, was the 71,000. Now, how we pay it, I think that's up to us as far as reimbursement on.
I thought we were doing priorities, meaning we put them on the list, and that was the level of funding that we were saying, agreeing for them. However, they were gonna have to be in a priority ranking. Because I go back to my water projects, because there's so many projects that we have not discussed, and you can't really do a complete priority list until you go through all of your items and rank them. I thought putting them on the list, puts them into consideration, because they're probably gonna be, as we go down to some of these other ones. I know we talked about, you know, like the Hippodrome and some other ones that may not make the list, nor if they do make the list, they may not be assessed a level of funding. So I didn't think we had committed ourselves to 70,000 to Trinity today.
Well,
I
that's
thought
the
we
way
could-
the motion
That's the way
was
the motion
made.
was.
Yep.
Because I would have been a little uneasy, especially since we didn't have a full court.
Well, I'll practice up on trying to communicate better at the next meeting.
Well, and just real quick, just kind of real time after the discussion with Tom and then what the court approved today, and judge if it needs to be moved to we need to bring it back on the next agenda and sort it back out. But based off the comment between you and Mike, Judge, I moved the 5 million from county infrastructure projects, from that county project bucket up to the non-county projects. So that sets that amount at 20 million. And then I bumped these non-county water infrastructure that Tom's presenting up from 5 to 10 million. So just to kind of still give you all an idea, even after everything we've approved, including Trinity and the Tawakona Creek baseline study, and with 10 million being there for water infrastructure, that still leaves 3.9 million in that bucket.
Okay.
And then in dropping down below, there's a $19.8 million county project bucket that, with our two big projects, just 5 million estimated for each of those, still leaves 9.8 million in that bucket as well.
Okay. Well, the reason why I was, and I'm off of it, I'm okay with where we are. But the reason why I wanted to go to the priority, because we still have requests coming in. It may be much higher priority than these others. But if we choose to pay one, I'm good with it. Just like we did the ones before. So,
At some point, is there not gonna be a deadline for, I mean, theoretically, you could go to the very end, and somebody could come in with one that would bump somebody, you know, at the end. I mean, is there gonna be a deadline based on the request and the assumption that it could get finished in time, or are we just gonna leave it open forever?
Well, the deadline will be when we run out of money.
Well, I mean, we had given these other people deadlines for getting, like we gave the volunteer fire department supposedly deadlines to get it in. I realize some of them are still pushing the envelope a little bit there, but
well, if the court wants to say it's done, we're not taking any more in, we can do that.
it would make it a lot easier to start dividing the money out if we knew that was all, and as opposed to continue.
Right. We know that Mark Volunteer Fire Department's still coming in Downsville, and there's a couple of others, and, you know, we can say,
Chapel Hill.
yeah, Chapel, Dustin, I think I sent you something on Chapel Hill Church. I don't think it qualified under the guideline from what, I believe one of y'all looked at, but it, you know, doesn't mean,
Okay, what was their issue, Dustin?
it wasn't lost revenue, and it was, a single
They
line.
wanted a water line.
Yeah,
Well, they wanted I guess the water line that's going down the road, it stops before it gets to the church, so they can't tie on to anything. And so right now, they just have a well, and they were wanting to know if funds could be allocated to extend the water line that's running down the street until it comes in front of the church, and then they could tie on to it.
Dustin who looked at that? I thought.
Judge, I had visited with Mike about it, and it's one that we've got ready to send to BKD for their review, but I think Mike had some concerns on it.
Yeah, it's a private nonprofit, and it's more of a Pandora's box deal. If you do that, then every church in the county needs their roof replaced, needs a new air conditioning system, needs this and that.
Well, now
You
this
pretty
one
much
is
opened up the
around
box.
water, and it would have to be every church that is at least 140 years old. I looked at the historical significance of it, and now we just looked at a private nonprofit, so we can't, we'll talk.
Well,
Let's talk later.
historically,
Huh?
114 years ago, they had a well.
They had a what? I'll talk to you later.
And Commissioner, we have sent it over to Tom as well, so
Okay.
it's being reviewed.
Okay,
And
okay.
then Judge, we do have the Meals on Wheels, Isaiah 117 House, and Lee Lockwood. Those are all three that have came up just in the past couple of weeks that they're all working on their request right now.
Okay, so, to Commissioner Smith's point, do we, I guess this is a question for the court, and I'd prefer all the court members to be here to answer it, but, when do we want to set a deadline? And then the court take action on that. And, newspaper maybe pick it up and say the deadline is this time, and if we don't get anything after that, we're done. Okay. All right, that's a future agenda item, so. Anything else?
I still have the question of whether on Trinity Sports, we would want to do a reimbursement instead of a full lump sum payment on 30 days interest.
I mean, that would be if you wanted to make sure the dollars got spent almost as fast as they're already spent, and then you're reimbursing them. And so you're safe that it got completed before the deadline. And so to the extent that we approved it, if they have 71, or actually 100 and.
They only got 71 from us, so.
Well, I guess the idea might be, though, if they don't have access to the money to pay for us to reimburse. I didn't think about that.
But if they submit a bill from a plumber that the work is completed, and then you pay them that amount and they pay the plumber, I mean, that would be a paper trail for you, wouldn't it? As opposed to just handing it out to start with?
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like to me that'd be the way to do it. You've got paper trail that way.
Judge, I don't know how to raise my hand in Zoom, but I think Mike's got a good point, following, tracking the expenditures on any capital project is a double check on the schedule. So, it might be very useful in signaling whether that project's staying on track to meet the deadline or not.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, Dustin, do you have anything else?
No, sir, I believe we took care of all the action items, so we should be good, Judge.
Okay. All right, well, it is 4:20 and we stand adjourned.